È un piacere parlare con voi qui, in questo evento tan importante, e también anche perché mi encanta Italia, soy brasiliano, me encanta Italia. Dos cosas. Primo, questo è un piacere, e secondo, mi dispiace però bisogna di parlare inglese perché you can understand that that's how far I can go, so that's fine. All right, so people pay to don't see ads. I love this phrase. There's something really special about it. And, sorry, I have a click or something, or? Yes. Here, all right, sure, cool. Okay. So I love this because for me, this is a phrase that represents the moment we live. This is happening. So when you notice that people are paying to don't see what we are doing, it's a sign. Let's pay attention to that. And I guess when I try to understand what's going on, when I turn on TV and on the behavior of most of the brands, I'm going to show you what I see is something like that. What's going on is that a lot of brands think that they are the most interesting thing out there. They truly believe that people turn on the TV or buy a magazine just to see what's the new spot or the new ad of this or that brand. The reality is this: nobody likes advertising. I know it's crazy to say this here because we are the crazy ones that like that. But out there, believe me, that's how they see us. It's really hard. And the reality is, this is not new. It's always been like that. But when you come back in time, like, I don't know, 30 years ago, that's how we used to see advertising. I'm surfing with the clicker. Come on. Somebody help me here. I'm clicking. I promise I'm clicking. No? Can somebody help me? Oh, yes, here, finally. Probably going to jump a lot of slides, but because I click a lot. So this is how it was. So in that time, you have to watch ads because you didn't have remote control, you didn't have cable, you didn't have like internet, cell phone, you didn't have any way to escape. That's why we thought people like advertising, but they don't. And now that's how they see advertising, just like that. So they connect to TV like as a multi-platform guys. Nobody's doing just one thing at one time. And we really have to understand that because that's the biggest challenge of our industry. You see this in the museum, like, you know, this is going on. The new generation are even worse. So just like a heads up, you're gonna get worse, believe me. So this, you never see, like, it's very unlikely to have a creative showing a shark, but I love this chart just because, you know, this is where we think that is the core, like open TV. So just see the teenagers. What's their relation with open TV? They are not watching, almost never. Like, they spend all the time in the other possibilities. And why? Because it's on demand. They can choose what to see, when to see, the length they're going to see, and they, believe me, they can skip ads. That's the challenge. So you see that how hard it is for us as brands to talk with the consumers. But wait, there is more. It's not just that. This is not a brand, but this is content. So be aware of that. Like, the consumers are our competitors as well. They can do content as much as we can. And very often they can do better. So you understand the challenge that we have ahead of us. Today, anyone can be a content provider. So you have to compete even with like your target audience. Just to give an example, something that happened here in Italy, in Cesena, just some fans, there's not a brand behind, some fans, they really love Foo Fighters. But Foo Fighters, guess what? They don't play in Cesena. If they come to Italy, they play like in Rome, Milan, that's it. They don't go to Cesena. They want Foo Fighters there. So what they did, they gathered together 1,000 rockers to make a massive event where they have, like in this beautiful park, they have 250 drummers, 250 bass players, 250 guitar players, and 250 singers to sing Learn to Fly from Foo Fighters. And in the end, they said, I believe that a lot of people will share, will talk about this video that's going to be massive on the internet. But this video is aiming 5 people, and then he mentioned the Foo Fighters. Our intention is to convince you guys to come here to play to us. 24 hours later, this happened. Whoops, it's not playing. Bloop. Well, anyway, move on. So this is David Grohl, and he was like speaking in Italian, a poor Italian even than mine, telling that he really loved the video, and like, guess what? We're gonna play in Cesena. So it also means that the consumer have a voice. They're not just listening what you're saying. They can participate in culture and in life. So that's the overall scenario that we're facing. So if you think in your life, just analyze your own life, there's not enough time to see all the content. I just think of myself, like I love House of Cards. Of course, now it's happening way much bigger, impressive House of Cards in Brazil right now. So that's one of the reasons I'm not watching the House of Cards. But I didn't watch, and I'm trying to find time to watch it. And this is common behavior. So you have to think that people they don't have time to see everything. So in the spare time they have, you have to be something they are choosing to watch. So how to make ads people care about? Well, this is what I learned so far. So I'm going to come quickly with some of my learnings on this. So the very first one is your ads can't look like ads. So if they don't look at ads, you have to do something that don't look like ads. So just one example, Zoolander. When they are launching the Zoolander, what they did this. So they invade the catwalk of Valentino, a real catwalk, for real. The 2 actors were there, like everybody was in shock. Like they got the covers of all the news all over the world. And they team up that intervention with a partnership with Vogue and make like as a Vogue issue, especially about Zoolander. So they are behaving just like content. People love to see and talk about that. But guess what? It's a trailer of a film, of a movie, but in a totally different way. It doesn't look like an ad. Number 2, know your real competitors. So let's say I have a client at BBH is Mentos. So I told them this. So if you're Mentos, you think these are your competitors, but they're not. Your competitors are this. You're competing attention with these brands, not with the other ones. And you have to understand that. Otherwise, you're going to lose the fight, believe me. So this is just like a one project we did for them. I just want to share with you guys. Have a look.
We have an experiment we want to try out.
Okay.
So we have a communications expert who's going to help you meet new people.
Yeah.
You up for it?
Okay, here we go.
So who is the communication expert?
This is like being a secret agent.
How old are you?
105. I'm going to help you today.
Okay.
Speak to the girl with the grey hair. Say hi. Hi. My name is Victoria.
Hi, my name's Victoria.
You look as old as my grandma.
But you look as old as my grandma, actually.
Oh, that's nice.
Are you going to die soon?
Are you going to die soon?
Well, I hope you don't.
I hope you don't.
Because you're really nice.
You're really nice.
Hi, mate.
Hi, mate.
What are you doing today?
What are you up to today?
Chris? Yeah? Talk to the girl in the stripy shirt.
Right, I'm going to sit down.
Can I
Yeah.
Once upon a time,
Once upon a time,
there was a goldfish.
there was a goldfish.
All alone.
And he was all alone?
The end.
The end.
That was really unusual.
Nice hair.
I like your hair. You're talking about fairies. Yeah.
Sit closer. Do you want to come and visit my house?
Do you want to come around my house? Are you listening? No. Do you want to dance? Like now? Yeah?
Can I cuddle?
Please, can I have a cuddle? Come on. Do you play patty cake?
Are we friends now?
Are we friends now? You are very interesting. Oh, really? Yeah. Borderline psychotic, but I think that's okay.
Whirl around. So we know each other's numbers.
So we can call each other, maybe.
5, 5, 5, 5.
5.
That's something now. Yeah, that's 5.
Should we be friends? Oh, your hair's so big and lovely.
They did it.
Do you want to Mentos? Yeah?
Would you like a Mentos?
Yes, please.
Go for it. You want a Mentos?
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Mentos?
I'll take it.
Who says no to Mentos?
Thank you. Number 3, have a one-line brief. And this for people that work in marketing, it's just like a really challenging. But I'm going to tell you why this is so important. So just take a look on this. The more things you have to say, probably you end up with just like a one way to tell it. If you reverse the triangle, then have just one thing to say, then you open the door to infinitive ways to say, that's it. So just think like an ad for, let's say, hair. Why all the ads of hair look like the same? Because all of them start with you having to say, like, what is the mode of action, what's the name of the product, what's the unique ingredient that I have, before and after in your hair. Like, there's already 6 or 7 things that every ad of hair have to go through. No wonder all of them look like the same. You just change like this, the tone of the skin, eventually of the model, but that's it. So when you have just one line briefing, you open the door to possibility. So I guess I have like one project that was really iconic. I don't want to share here again because I think I shared so many times, which is Dove sketches, Dove real build sketches. But here is the real brief that we had to do. This is the real brief. Only 4% of women consider themselves beautiful. Help the other 96% to feel more beautiful. That was the brief. Done. That's it. So that's why we come up with Dove sketches. There's another project that I'm going to share today, and the brief of that project later on, but the brief of that project was this. Burger King, be your way. That's it. That was the brief. Do something about that, because Burger King is also, it was all about have it your way, and you convince the client to change that to be your way because it's more emotional. You can talk about more about something people care more to talk about, and then that was the brief. And this, I just decided to share one practical example of that. So this is like a typical ad of tourism. And in this ad, you can see like there's like 5, 6, 7 things that you're saying. And no wonder all ads of tourism look like the same, because all of them have to go through these kind of things. You have to have a beautiful photo of this, a beautiful, email, explanation of this. There are a lot of things. And then there's no way to do something interesting with it. But some guys in New Zealand, they got a simpler brief, and what they did is this. They create a campaign about the best job in the world. So they said, hey, let's use content as a way in. So instead of keep talking about all of those things, let's offer. Who don't want to be a caretaker of an island in New Zealand for 6 months receiving salary? A very well-paid salary. Like everybody wants that. So this is content. But you cannot get there if you have like to feel a lot of challenge. Like you have to talk about this, talk about that, talk about that. But in the end of the communication, because when I offer you a job, and if the job is really amazing, by talking about how amazing the job is, I'm talking about how amazing New Zealand is. As simple as that. But to arrive, it's important to understand that to arrive in ideas like that, you have to start well. If we start with the typical briefs, you're going to never end up in something like this. Believe me. So they did this beautiful idea, best job in the world. So this is number 3. Number 4, make an open brief. So if you have just one line brief, really simple, really clear to understand, what we in our side in agencies, we can do what we've been doing recently, which is an open brief. So instead of giving a brief to one team, I offer you guys, I offer the clients something, help me, like this. So this is one open brief we did like a BBH. That was the amount of creators involved in just one project. And the beauty of it is because the brief is so simple, you don't have to be an expert in that brand to try. But you need a creative director that is expert. So then you open the doors to people like, you know, shoot out things. And then a guy that knows what the brand is all about, knows the needs of the brand, can say, hey, what you said makes no sense, but there's something here. There's a nugget here. Let's use this to make something interesting. And also, competition is a great way for you to get the best ideas. No wonder why USA goes so well in Olympic Games. Like, they have a lot of guys trying and not going. I guess like the USA and China have the biggest amount of people that don't go to the Olympic Games. That's why the ones that go there are so good. So you can do that in the way of trying to get the best ideas. And this is the reality of the Dove sketch that I was mentioning. Like we have like I guess 210 ideas to choose real beauty sketches. But because we have the open brief and the one-line brief. Number 5, you must be ready for uncertainty. This is another challenge because, you know, we love to research things. We love to really know how is the script and things like that. So in Dove sketches, this is what we present to the client. It was called back then Dove Self-Esteem Portraits. And I guess the idea is just that, like Rose draw by Rose, like Rose describing herself to an FBI artist about herself, and Rose drawn by somebody that has been with Rose. So that's exactly the idea that we end up shooting. But here, like, we have some changes. But when we present this, also something interesting, like the client start the feedback from the bottom level to the top, as always. And the junior guy starts with like, I like this, I like that, but, and then comes the truth. And so I say, the problem is this, we have to change that. And the important thing is that a lot of little changes makes a huge mess in the end because the things change totally. And the beautiful things on those sketches is the core client, the top one, the one that briefs us, interrupt the guy in the middle, which is very uncommon, and said, I'm sorry, I know this is not the process, but I briefed the guys, I asked a Grand Prix for the guys, and I think it's only fair that I start the feedback. Can I? And everybody said, oh yeah, fine. And then he go like, well, I think this idea is amazing. I think this is the best idea ever for real beauty. I love it. I think this will be better than Evolution, that was the famous idea of Dove. And I think we should do the idea exactly the way the agency is proposing without changing a bit. And then from that moment on, like, okay, that's my feedback. How about you guys? And then everybody, yeah, right. So you know, like, you have to be bold to get a bold idea. Otherwise, you're never going to get it. And as I said, when we went to shoot, what was the script? We had no script. Actually, we had an agreement with the client that if the hypothesis didn't work well, we would like close it and never use it. Because we're not 100% sure. And this is a good thing. Because then it proved that we didn't have to lie. We didn't have to fake. We just went to real thing and to see what really happened. And then we got the film. Also, no storyboard, no focus group, nothing. We just did like and Dove sketches became the most seen and shared ad in history. It got like 180 million views on YouTube without following the typical rules. So there's something about the typical rules we have to think about. And also, they create like a headquarter, like to react in React Media about where those sketches were performing all over the world, to see how they can do actions specifically to the countries. And they never had that. They create that for the campaign. And then that's those sketches. I guess everybody saw it, so we don't have to go through that. Number 6, you need to catch the attention of media. So a lot of people think that for you to have PR, you have to make a PR kit, and then the PR guys will talk about your idea. Guess what? They won't. Or if they do so, they will do a small-scale thing in the marketing side of the newspaper where they like to talk about brands. But that's not what you want. When you talk about PR, we have to have the real PR, like the cover of the newspaper, like the primetime TV time on newspapers and news. That's what you need to achieve. So one of the criteria we use when we are filtering ideas in the agency is, don't tell me your idea, tell me what's the PR headline of your idea. And let's start by that. So just to give an example, if the man walked on the moon, you don't have to really convince the press to talk about. They will. So your idea have to have that kind of power. And that's what we've been doing in the best projects in terms of like getting that kind of attention. And the good about that is like PR guys are very restrict about the things they talk. They don't lie. They won't tell something good just because you're asking them. They won't. So if they care enough to talk about it, it's because there's something important there. And if they care, people will care. And then people will share. And we live in an era where people are the new media. We need to turn our consumers in media, so I don't have just to reach you. I have to reach you, to move you, and you're going to talk to all your friends, and your friends to their friends, and so on. And then there's a huge media power. That's what happened with Dove Sketches. And in case of Dove Sketches, what we did to launch the campaign, we called the 3 biggest networks in USA, and we did a pitch among them. We say, hey, we have this content. We think it's pretty cool. And do you want the exclusive about it? You can be the first one to talk about it as news. So tell me what you offer, what coverage you offer me for free to talk about it. And then we start by that. And then ABC was the one that offered the best coverage with the Today Show. They said we start, a lot of people don't know that, but we start those sketches with in Today Show, they say, hey, you know, some girls have been through a kind of experiment that was going on, something about beauty, and with an FBI sketch artist, which is kind of odd. So let's receive them, let's talk about it, and then start an interview, talking about it with the real people that have been in the event with us. And again, they can say anything they want. So they are not paid actors. They are real people talking about the reality. We can't control them. We just did a quick teach them like how to talk to the press, like how to express themselves better. But we cannot control at all what they're going to say. And we start by that. So we start Dove Sketch as pure content, which is kind of interesting. Number 7, I mean, I said I'm just like, I want to be controversial here. So again, haters are welcome. So I guess by now you can understand how I feel about research. Honestly, I love research, but I think that we've been using it poorly and badly almost like 95% of the time. I think research are amazing if we use it well. But what happened is that we are letting our work being guided by some ladies eating cookies and drinking milk and talking among each other about what they think about that, which is not really the best way. So if you don't have the right answers, you're never going to have the right questions. You're never going to have the right answers. So it's just like I always say that if God had listened to research to create one animal, would be this one, the platypus, because it pleases a lot of people. You know, have like as a mammal, as a reptile, as a bird, as a fish. Like I have a bunch of everything you like. But it's just like compare this to a dog. I believe a lot of people like more a dog. So if you have like 50% of people like a dog and 50% like a cat, don't try to do something that's half a dog, half a cat, because it won't work. Go for one side. And don't worry if the others won't like, because The real problem today is that, I mean, like it's almost like the white is hero, black is failure, and everybody is afraid of black, and then they are avoiding white, and everybody is in this gray area that means nothing to anybody. Most of the ads you see on TV, you don't bother. You don't feel nothing about them. And they are there, you believe that, just think about that, I guess, 80 to 90% of the ads you see on TV have been through research. They've been green, green, high, high, approved, whatever, those criteria you can say. But like, you don't bother about it. So there's something wrong. Again, it's not against the research, but the way we've been using it to validate and to select work. So you have like you have to be bold enough to unplease somebody, to find love in others. So this is one project we did to Burger King with that assumption. The one I said, like, be your way, so we did this.
When people sit down to eat a hamburger, the last thing they want to be thinking about is two guys having sex.
In 2014, we invited people to try the most controversial hamburger in history.
Trending tonight, some of the stories that are hot right now online, Twitter, Burger King.
Proud Whopper.
Called the Proud Whopper. Introducing the Proud Whopper.
So like it's a gay burger, or do gay people even eat fast food?
Yeah, it's about time.
People wondered what was so different about this Whopper.
You want to try the Proud Whopper?
What is the Proud Whopper? Hey, what is the difference?
Like, it really does taste different.
To me, it tastes like more like sweeter. I don't know.
But in reality, the Proud Whopper was just like any other Whopper.
We are all the same.
It's the same burger.
We're all the same inside. I like that.
I cried in there because I was overwhelmed. A burger has never made me cry before.
you were totally crying.
Our special Pride wrapper became a souvenir, a collector's item for sale to the highest bidder, a badge of hope. The Proud Whopper took over social media and mass media publications. It gathered over 1 billion media impressions, worth $21 million of earned media, 7 million views, 450,000 blog mentions, and became the #1 trending topic on Facebook and Twitter in 1 week.
We're all the same inside. That's a wonderful sentiment.
I'm proud being straight, and how about that? Can I be proud to be straight?
We all want people to accept us for who we are.
So Tyler, should you work at Burger King?
In the end, the Proud Whopper became more than a hamburger. It became a proclamation of equality.
It makes me feel supported, it makes me feel proud, and it's just a burger, but I mean, it's baby steps the whole way.
I think this wrapper means that we all have the same rights. I love Uncle Mommy!
Thank you. And my last point, this is possible for any brand. So very often when you see this idea, you think like, no, this is hard for me because, you know, I have like a lot of people to approve, like I can't go with all the markets to prove this idea, or like even in my market, there's a lot of complication. If I don't go with a research, I'm gonna like, there's like a rule, internal rule in my company that I have to go through. So they always treat like that. But then there is some kind of trick that some brands are playing, and this is really smart, and that's the last thing I want to share with you guys, which is what we call 70-20-10, which is a kind of a content plan. So 70-20-10 is like your investment. Instead of being 100, split into 70-20-10. So immediately 70 is your like a safe thing. I'm not messing up with it. Just like a safe TV, print, like your core media, like everybody, you have to go to research. Do it. And just if you think on Dove as an example, they did the most traditional thing on TV, they keep doing. So everything go to research, and you're not talking about those ideas, but they kept doing that. That's okay. Do that, because that's playing the game. And then in 20, I mean, those proportions can vary brand per brand, but it's just like the logic. Then 20 is something just like go for something more innovative. Just like Snapchat that you cannot really track how useful it is, but you have to be like in the edge of like a media buying or ideas or design proposition. Try something a little bit more edgy with a part of it. And this, I'm talking about 90% of your media, or sometimes 95% of your media budget. But please, save something like 10 or 5 or 3% of your money to do, I don't know. To do, I don't have a clue. To do, I won't do tests. To do, let's waste money. If it doesn't work, it's fine. Try that. And that's exactly what some brands are doing. So one example of this is Coca-Cola. So the core reputation of Coca-Cola is on a lot of vending machine ideas they've been doing. This is the 10%. There's no big media buying behind. It's not on main TV. Eventually, if you start with that kind of activation, with that little money, and then it's very, very, very successful, then you bring to TV. But now you know it's like an exit. It's fantastic. Or the same thing Gatorade did with the Replay project. The same thing American Express did with Small Business Saturday. And the same thing I did with Proud Whopper for Burger King, because the traditional spots were there, or Dove sketches we did for Dove. That's it.